The following Hear the Word program is from Making Much of Christ Ministries. Hear the Word is an audio experience created for listeners just like you. Our team of vocalists passionately recite our blogs and Bible lessons for those who are on the go. You are currently listening to Finding Joy When the Darkness Won't Lift, written by Brandon K. RACHAL, our chief content author, spoken by our vocalist, Audrey Harrison. For more information, visit us at www.makingmuchofchristministries.com.
Where should I turn when the circumstances in my life threaten to overtake me? Who could possibly understand the intricacies of my soul's anguish towards this dreadful situation? When joy seems to be especially deficient in my heart, how do I find joy when the darkness won't lift? Darkness, meaning deeply rooted, insufferable sadness, resulting in the absence of joy. Darkness is an element of life that we all wish didn't exist. Every person, every philosophy, every religion is trying to figure out what to do with these seasons of darkness. To the tender conscience or sensitive heart, suffering demands an explanation and is not placated with easy answers. Yet it universally comes for us all. You see, every minute of every hour, a wife wonders why her marriage crumbles despite her best attempts. Rest assured, some woman feels the weight of this darkness. Perhaps you are that woman listening to this blog. The couple who just buried their child intricately understands darkness of the heart. After all, it's incomprehensible for a parent to bury their own child. The young man who suffered a terrible injury can also relate. His aspirations have come to a screeching halt. Even our children are incapable of escaping this deeply rooted, insufferable sadness called darkness. Just ask the little girl whose innocence was stripped from her without consent. Indeed, she's well acquainted with darkness. Or ask the high school student. He's socially awkward, not fitting in with the norm. For this, he is plagued by ridicule and mockery. The feeling of darkness gnaws at him as he perceives that no change is on the horizon. These difficult seasons of darkness hold biases to no one. Regardless of our socioeconomic status or ethnicity, each of us are beginning a season where joy is scarce because the darkness won't lift. Enduring a season in which joy is hard to come by because the darkness won't lift. Transitioning from a season where joy had been hard to come by because the darkness weighed heavily upon you, yet the war seemingly has ended. Or witnessing a friend, loved one, drowning in a season of darkness where the joy was nowhere to be found. And each of these four stages of a season bring their own set of challenges, don't they? Today, I will examine the first stage of darkness, aiming to present clear biblical truth and Christ-centered hope. So if you have just begun a difficult season, my hope is that this would serve you well. And for those who submit that this stage isn't applicable to them, rest assured, there is truth for you here. Because when, not if, but when you experience this stage, I pray this blog comes to your remembrance. beginning a season of darkness. It often comes unexpected. A gut-wrenching diagnosis from your oncologist, or a decision you made in a temporary moment of carelessness. That decision bore tremendous consequences.
This can't be happening.
Truly in shock, your mind scrambles aimlessly for understanding while your feet simultaneously search for solid footing. Finally, the weight of your circumstance presses heavily upon your shoulders, threatening to obliterate any sense of normalcy you once possessed. Yet for many of us, the weight of darkness creeps upon us without our knowledge. What was anticipated as a few weeks of hardship became something much more lasting. Something like the beginning of darkness and its ferocious pursuit of your joy. And this is why being still and taking inventory become essential. Those who find the courage to hold fast to these two principles will possess the solid footing necessary to track this new terrain. Be still. It's important to be still when our lives crash down upon us. Moments of uncertainty can have devastating consequences to the mind when left unchecked. And for good reason. One of our strongest desires bubbles to the surface in those moments, namely the desire to control. Glimpses of this reality are speckled throughout our lives, aren't they? We desire our spouses to change certain characteristics about themselves. Internally, we conclude that this would remedy our marriage. Control. Our satisfaction wanting, we work overtime to create a better life for our family. More control. This is what makes the onset of darkness gruesome in nature. It seems the darkness itself bloviates about its power to reveal how little control we actually have. Can't you see? Fighting for control will leave you hollow. No measure of effort will satisfy your desire to control the situation. It's why you must be still. No amount of anxiety will undo the diagnosis you received. No measure of fear realigns your body after being mangled from that accident. But you can be still. When the relationship that you dreamed would be forever collapses, panicking and lashing out in anger will only leave you exhausted. And as tempting as it may be, hurting yourself won't undo the violation that person committed against you. Though your mind races for avenues of relief, first be still. True story. I knew a man who faced impossible circumstances himself. Being blessed with enormous wealth, his life lacked no material possession. He was blessed with many children. He had a faithful wife who adored him, and as many friends as one could possibly have. Even more, he used his talents extremely well. So on top of having a great life, he spent his time doing exactly what he loved to do. Isn't that all you and I desire? A life filled with love, family, laughter, and financial freedom. Yet this man met darkness in a horrible fashion. He lost his entire net worth. Even worse, his wife and children died in close proximity to each other. With this tragedy came the noise. Noise is the unhelpful, anxiety-filled clutter that fills our hearts and minds when we search aimlessly for meaning in difficult circumstances. And there was incredible noise in his heart. To worsen matters, he developed a painful disease that ravished his own body with pain. The more he demanded control, the louder the noise of confusion became. And his friends, despite their best efforts, they only worsened the situation. They continuously cast judgment. Their counsel served to supplement the noise's appetite further. As the medical professionals disputed over the proper diagnosis, he grew more vexed by the noise in his heart and mind. He was utterly confused on how to proceed. The lack of control over his painful circumstance was the perfect recipe for the noise to take control. And we're not unfamiliar with this noise, right? Though we may not be faced with quite the extreme circumstances he was, are we not prone to filling our hearts and minds with unhelpful noise and directionlessness, ultimately terminating into anxiety or depression? In fact, had it not been for the loving intervention of a particular great friend imploring that man to be still, he may have worsened an already grim situation, resulting in an end with no opportunity for redemption. Thankfully, he had a great friend who challenged him to be still. Can't you see? Before making any decisions on what you should do about your circumstances, you must be still. It's in the stillness that we can position ourselves to lessen the noise levels just enough to take inventory. Take inventory. So there's no greater exercise than the implementation of taking inventory with these important questions. Number 1, have you been seeking direction through the gift of the Bible? No, really, have you? Oftentimes, we turn to the scripture as our last resort, yet it's here where our greatest power awaits our arrival. Open the book. 2, have you been asking for wisdom? Have you? We live in a culture where prayer has become nearly obsolete. As a result, we've lost our appetite to plead for wisdom. Ask, 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 ask. Number 3, is there unity in the Spirit within the family of God on this direction? Don't isolate yourself. There's wisdom among a multitude of wise friends. Remember, you're hurting, and perhaps your rationale is a little afflicted. Seek trusted counsel from those who love Jesus to come alongside you. Number 4, has God opened a way for you to go? One of the greatest evidences of God's navigating presence is His miraculous way of opening doors you couldn't imagine of yourself. Be still and ever watchful. And number 5, is there a sense of peace once you've made your directional decision? Now this one is hard because we're human, finite individuals who constantly live between the tension of peace and trouble. Don't look for absolutes, but a calming sense of confidence. There's nothing easy about the road ahead of you. Trust me, I know. Oh, how I desire to walk alongside you personally, sharing with you the great trouble I faced at the beginning of my season of darkness. The pain you may feel in this very moment is so palpable. And while I acknowledge that there is often no silver bullet to heal your physical or emotional pain, if you'd be still and take inventory, if you'd place your trust fully and finally in the Jesus of the Bible, He will walk with you step by step with the ultimate promise that things will get better.